Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Chick. I'm the product manager for Bucher Vaslin, North America. I take care of predominantly the Southwest and the East Coast. I've only got about 40, oh, scary amount, 46 years in the industry. So I do have some history with Bucher products. I've been associated with Bucher since 1998. When it was still KLR machines. Today, we're going to be talking about a new offering by Bucher, which is the Origin line of presses. It is a new press that cuts out some of the bells and whistles, but just gives us a more functional and a basic press that still has all the functionality of all the modern presses with all the high technology, without some of the complexity that not everybody needs. Bucher Vaslin North America, as most of you know, is a wholly owned subsidiary of Bucher Vaslin in France. We were KLR machines, but when the principals decided to retire back in the early 90s of the KLR machines, Bucher decided to buy the company completely. Back then, we were in Sebastopol with just a single warehouse. Since then, we've moved on to Santa Rosa, California, where we have greatly expanded our warehouse for our parts and storing of equipment, especially excuse me, some of the new equipment that we have. We also have added technicians, so we now have service technicians not only in California, the Pacific Northwest, and of course down in the South States with me down here in Texas, and we have technicians on the East Coast in New York. So we're able to cover all the predominant regions of the winemaking industry. As far as our Santa Rosa office goes, we've added, in the years, we've added Castrol bottling equipment, Cazot pumps, Le Motavier winemaking products, Duger de Ceron laboratory instruments, and some other things for our portfolio. So we have more things that we can add that add value to us and to our customers. So, as I said, today, our topic for the day is the Origin line of pneumatic presses. So what we've done is stripped away some of the high technology that has been associated with Bucher products, and actually not just with us, but with everybody. We've decided technology is not necessarily needed for all of our customers. Mostly what our small and medium-sized wineries need is just a functional machine that gives them the automation that they don't have to sit there and babysit the press, but will still allow them to have total flexibility over the process and modify their production and programming to meet the style that they want to generate. And so that has been our goals for the Bucher press. One of the neat things we've done, or that Bucher has done with this line, is they've added a new style of press to our system. We still have the traditional Bucher style with the closed cage and the tangential flow drain channels, but we've now also offered an open style cage, same press, but with an open style cage, which increases drainage and drain time so that, decrease drain time, increases flow, so you can get a faster press cycle done. And it also eliminates the minimum load size so that you can buy, say, a 22 hectoliter press and put just a half a bin in there and still take it up to whatever pressure you want, all the way up to 2 bar if that's your desire. Both of these presses offer a very large door opening, so that you can fill the press closer to the end, so that you have to spend less time rotating the press to get the press completely filled. Also can make emptying the press much faster by allowing a rapid access to the door to get the pumice out of the press. One of the things they've done is maintain the simplicity of our controls. We still have the possibility of pressing up to 2 bar, so that you can get those down to the last drop if you so desire. But you have control of that, so you can control what your maximum pressure is and what your starting pressures are. We have what's called end of holding optimization as an option, or not as an option, but as a feature that you can enable. And what this does is automatically determines that if the press has not been adding air to the press, so that there's just very little decrease in volume for juice coming out, it'll move to the next step to automatically try to maintain a juice flow, again, without all the complexity of flow meters and all the other things that that most, for lack of a better term, intelligent programs add to a press. So this is a very very advanced system without advanced hardware. And then again, with the larger doors and the spiral under the membrane, we're able to empty the press very quickly and completely, so that you don't have to get in and shovel out those last bits at the end of a pressing cycle. So again, there's in this screen, it shows the large door. The doors are on all these presses exceed 50% of the length of the press. So there's really good access to the press, which gives again makes it quite a bit easier to fill the press to the ends. So you're not having to shovel in near as much to get your fruit to the ends of the press. So it speeds up the filling cycle and reduces labor. The entire line of presses includes a rinsing bar, which I'll show you in a moment, but that washes the outside of the press in between cycles or at the end of day, just to make cleanup a lot faster. And then for personnel security, we've gone away from some of the complex systems, again, that not only us, but our competitions had of either light sensors or much more complex and expensive sensing devices on the edge of the press, just to a simple cable system that will stop the press in case somebody puts their hands where they should not be. It also said when this is engaged, it sounds an audible alarm, so everybody knows that there's somebody doing something that is not safe for them or for the people around them. So the newest addition to the Bucher line includes the open style press. Now you notice again that this press with the open style, there's a lot of drainage surface there. And one of the neat things of the Bucher design is the direction of the slots is a radial direction. So the slots go in the direction of rotation. Some of our competition puts these slots sideways to rotation. The edge of that slot can generate shear forces on the grapes and create solids. With our system, the only shear surface really, since you're going the direction of rotation, is half of a radius of that circle. So a very small area for shearing. If those slots go perpendicular to the press, then you've got a full about 50% of the entire circumference of that slot provides shearing forces to the grapes. So it's that will increase solids. So this system reduces your solids generation. You'll see also on this picture, this rinsing bar here. This is where you hook up the water for the rinsing bar to rinse the exterior of the press. And one of the standard options again is axial fill for those that want to axial fill their presses. So it's a very simple system. You can see we don't have a lot of bells and whistles. We don't have any electronics on the tank. So this has just reduced not only the complexity of the press, the technology of the press, but also reduces the cost of the press. So we're able to offer this at a much better value than our more expensive Xplus lines. The Xplus has a lot of advantages. If you don't need those advantages, then the Origin is a really good option. So you can see here in this view that the only shear, if we're going in rotation with the fruit, the only shear surface really is this one edge of that slot. And you can see from the inside, it's just nice, clean, very simple to access, lots of drainage surface. And behind this membrane, you'll see there's a helix that focuses the pumice towards the door, so that when we're in the emptying phase, it completely empties the press. Also, as with all Bucher presses, the membrane is attached through a simple rail system. We don't have to drill holes in the membrane, nothing to line up. It just goes into a channel behind this the retention bar. And so it's relatively simple to replace membranes when the time does come. Then for the traditionalists, and for those that want, we still offer the closed press, which uses this patented drain channel that Bucher has used for decades now. We have made some changes over the last few years. We now hinge these channels so that it's very simple without any tools to be able to open the channels for access to clean them. And this is true on the entire range of Bucher presses, so that whether you're buying our smallest Origin 22 or Xplus 22 or the largest Expert 450, access to the drain channels for cleaning is very much simplified, but without the use of having to go in with wrenches to undo the retention bolts. This saves a lot of time for cleaning. And again, it's very simple. You don't have to go with tools, so less chance of dropping something inside that'll damage the membrane. Also, these channels are all electropolished, so it makes it much more resistant to tartrates sticking to the drain channel, so they're easier to clean. So much better hygiene than the non-polished channels. And since they clean easier and faster, they use less water. And I know for a lot of people, water's gotten to be quite a topic nowadays. So we're using less water, less labor, less time, allows you to get back into operation much quicker than a standard fixed channel system. So you can see here a better view of the end of the press. Again, here's that washing ramp for cleaning the press, for access to the end. We don't have a whole lot of options available on these presses. We'll go over those in a minute. There are a few, but again, it's just a basic press so that you can still make your quality fruit with using good automated controls so that you're hands off and yet still have good Bucher quality machinery available to you. This is a view of the rinsing ramp. And you can see in this video that it's all manual. It's nothing spectacular, but it just does a thorough job of rinsing the exterior of the press. So it's really going to cut back on the amount of time that you're spending cleaning the press. Of course, you're still able to go out and clean it with a pressure washer if you wish. But this, especially for lighter things, especially in between cycles, will do a really good job of keeping the press clean in between loads to really reduce the amount of cleanup time you're spending at the end of the day and especially at the end of the week. So again, it's simple, not a whole lot of technology to it, but it's effective. Controls are still a color touch screen, as you can see right on the end of the press. It's a smaller screen than on the Xplus and Expert presses, but it still contains the same functionality of the Xplus and Expert presses, a color touch screen with very simple controls that will allow you all the flexibility to generate programs that you need to generate to process your fruit in the manner which everybody's now become accustomed. You can regulate the pressure hold time. You can regulate what anywhere from 0 to 14 rotations between cycles. You can regulate what your start and end pressures are. So a lot of different things you can do with a press. All the same functions as the more advanced presses, the Xplus and Expert range. The only limitation is you've got 6 sequential programs and 6 static programs versus 10 on the bigger presses. For most people, 6 of each is plenty. And they're very simple to change. Again, it's a color touch screen. It's quite easy to figure out. With typically about a half hour of training, I can get anybody to understand how to do almost everything with this press. And so you can see here the information screen on the color touch screen controller. All the information you need in a single page. You can see what cycle the press is in. For instance, this screen here shows that you're in static program number 1. And that you're in pressing mode. And right now the tank pressure it must be ready to rotate because you're at a negative pressure. You've also got an analog gauge here, a digital version of an analog gauge on the screen so that you see what your current pressure is, see what your lapse time is, what cycle you're in. And the button in the middle is your end of holding optimization. So if that's engaged, that will automatically trigger the algorithm to know that the juice flow has gotten quite low, time to move on to the next stage. So again, everything you need is on a single page. So it's quite simple to figure out. And for those that employ people from different countries, especially if you're using interns, it speaks multiple languages, including Spanish, of course, English, French, Italian, and the most common languages. So it's very simple for wherever you've got your operators coming from, that they can understand the press and be able to interface with it. Some of the other advantages include the program logging that, again, the Xplus and Expert presses have. You can go back and see what your process history has been. So you can see what programs you've run, when you ran them, how long they took. So you can get a full histogram, and you can even export this histogram if you so desire on a USB stick. But it's really nice for those of you that like keeping a good track of your process history. And then on the technical side, it's also got pages that you can view your fault history. Hopefully this isn't something that would be needed often, but if we have a repeated fault and we're trying to figure out where the fault is, we can go back and check the fault logs and see what the fault is, what fault it was and when it happened and what the occurrence is, so that it helps us diagnose. Also on this press, it will tell us exactly what the fault is, whether it was a side safety or a circuit breaker tripped, or what the fault is that stopped the press. And you can easily reset it from this page. So for the machines that do break down, and it's a machine, they do break, it just helps us to get you back on the road as fast as possible. Part of the simplification process with Bucher has been to make the components as easily accessible as possible. So they're using components that, to the best of possibility, are off-the-shelf components. We're using off-the-shelf starters and overloads and controls. Our computer is not an OEM specialized computer. It's an off-the-shelf computer that is used worldwide. So we don't have to have something that only can come from Bucher Vaslin, although we do stock them. We have them on the shelves in California, so that if something were to fail, we do have these components on hand to allow us to support our customers better. But it's really nice to know that they're using components that if, for instance, a motor overload fails on the machine, and we don't, even if we did not have one in California, we can go to Granger, McMaster Car, any number of places and get replacement parts for it. It's not a specialized OEM product. And then again, focusing back on personnel, we have people throughout the country that are trained in maintaining these presses. So when there's a problem, we are available to fix them. And they've done some other really cool things. This is the only press I know of that uses a direct drive to run the tank. This has quite a few advantages. One is just energy savings. The less times you have to transfer direction of rotation, the less electricity is required, less energy is required to make the tank rotate. So it uses somewhat less electricity. But the main advantage for the winery is there's just less maintenance. We don't have chains and gears that you have to lubricate, tension, and maintain, because the drive goes directly to the tank. So there's nothing there to lubricate. There's no chain. Lubrication is just a single bearing on this end, a single bearing on the other end. So during harvest on a daily basis, it should take about 1 minute to lubricate this press, because there's only 2 grease fittings. So it's very simple to maintain. And again, going back to that repeatability, availability of parts. This press, the Origin presses, use the exact same air blowers, the exact same vacuum blowers as the Xplus line. So if the same blower on an Xplus 30 and an Origin 30, all the same components, we've got these things on the shelf in Santa Rosa. So if one fails, we have them available to us. So we don't have to store a different compressor for this than we do for an Xplus. It's the same compressor, same vacuum blower, same air mufflers, all the same, as much as possible, the same components. So it's much higher likelihood that we're going to have the parts you need in the warehouse. Here's a view of the large door openings. As you can see from this, you're able to get really close to the end when you're filling. If you're filling from an overhead bin with a nozzle, very simple to get to. As you can see, it's very large. So there's, as usual, there's a little bit of work to get it to the end, but not near as much as a smaller door press. So we're able to get the press very full in a much shorter period of time. Again, we've kept things simple but effective. So we've got the cable safety system. If that were to trip, and you can't just cut it to bypass it. It's a two-way switch. If it's too tight or too loose, the press trips. So the cable has to be in place, but it's very effective and easy to reset. We've done things like the juice pan is on rails, so that for cleaning the press at the end of cycle, you just roll the juice pan out and excuse me, and you can fully clean that juice up. So it's really easy to get to, very good for hygiene, saves time as well. We have a few options. Some of the most popular options are the automatic juice recovery system. This float automatically retracts when you pull the juice sump out. When the juice sump's in place, it comes down. And with this, we can control your juice pump so that you don't have to watch the press and have somebody there running a pump for your juice sump. We have an outlet right on the press to run your pump, controlled by this float. And another thing of this system is when that float, if it gets to the full position and stays there too long and it gets overfull, actually the press senses that for something's happened and your pump isn't turning on, it will turn the press off, deflate, and rotate drains up so that you don't overflow the juice sump. And then at the end of the cycle, when you're done pressing, there's still juice left in the sump. You can just go over and manually push this button, which will energize your pump and drain your sump all the way so that you're not left with 20 gallons of juice in your sump trying to figure out how to get it out. Another one of the key options is axial fill. On the Xplus, we offer a pneumatic valve for opening and closing the axial fill controlled from the pulpit. Well, to avoid the cost and complexity of doing that, all we offer now is a manual valve. So again, it reduces cost. It keeps the press much more simple, less to maintain. All the contact parts on this are stainless steel, and of course on the seal, it's a Bucher seal, so it's all food grade. It's a steel housing, but all the contact points are food grade stainless contact points. So standard option. You can get the press without the valve. If you want to put on your own valve, we can do that as well. On the 22 and 30 and 40 press, 40 hectoliter presses, they're 100 millimeter valves. On the 50, 62, and 80 hectoliter presses, they're 120 millimeter valves. Another one of the more popular options is the hopper system. We offer either a fixed hopper above the press or actually what we call a mobile hopper. The mobile hopper, you're just able to slide the hopper one side or the other to get out of the way for you, so you can see in the press, so you can access the tank if you want to for cleaning, or maybe you want to fill with a hose. It just gives you more options versus the fixed hopper. In either of those, that hopper, when we're installing it at commissioning, depending on how your system is set up, we can have the angle of the hopper either toward the side or toward the end. So if you're filling with a side dump and you want to go over the press and side dump, we would use this configuration where the filling end, the low end of the hopper is lateral with a press. If you're filling from the side, then we set the hopper up perpendicular. But again, we can fine tune this press to work best with the way you do business. And again, we have factory trained personnel throughout Northern California, throughout the Pacific Northwest, here in the Southwest, and on the East Coast. We cover all of North America for service. We've got customers in Ohio. We've got customers in Michigan, And we take care of everybody. So if you need service with Bucher Vaslin North America, we're available by phone, by however you need to reach us.